Well, hello. Let me tell you a story about non-trivial cases of inflation attack on HED Finance and HED. But first, have anyone heard of inflation attacks? Please. Oh, pretty much. Well, first let me introduce myself. I'm from Mixbytes. We are a team of really skilled auditors. We made a lot of audits, and none of our clients have been wrecked. And my name is Konstantin. I'm a researcher at Mixbytes. And in particular, I participated in the audit of HED, where I found an interesting vulnerability, that I will talk about today. But first, what is a vault? Well, it's a protocol where you deposit assets and receive shares at a certain exchange rate. And rounding errors may arise if the exchange rate is inflated excessively high. For example, if a user deposits 100 ETH in a protocol where the exchange rate is 100 plus 1 ETH, then 100 divided by 101 rounds down to 0, and the user receives 0 shares. And in another example, if the hacker redeems 199 ETH from the protocol where the exchange rate is 100, then 199 divided by 100 rounds down to 1. And only one hacker's share is burned for the price, well, that is twice as much. Well, and that is kind of what happened to HED Finance. Have anyone heard of HED Finance and the attack that happened this spring? Oh, someone did. All right. HED Finance is a compound-based lending protocol where you deposit assets and receive shares which have borrowing power to borrow other assets in the protocol. And the exchange rate relies on balance-off method of the token, so you can influence it by direct transfers. Now, I must emphasize that I only illustrate the main concept of the attack that happened this spring, and I will omit many other details, such as flash loan and other. Now, let's see what happened from the eyes of the hacker. So, there is an empty WBTC pool, and we can mint 2 shares with just 2 satoshis. Now, if we donate 500 bitcoins into the WBTC pool, we'll inflate the exchange rate of our 2 shares to 500 bitcoins plus 2 satoshis. Thus, the exchange rate of 1 share now is 250 bitcoins plus 1 satoshi. And that amount of borrowing power is enough to borrow all assets from any pool in the protocol. So we borrow all ETH with the borrowing power of just 1 share. Now, remember that we have 2 shares. Now, one is used to cover the debt, and the other one is free, and we can burn it. And the question is, how much of underlying assets we can redeem by burning that one free share? Well, we request the protocol to redeem almost all of our donation. We request to redeem 500 bitcoins. Now, let's see how much shares should be burned. We divide 500 by the exchange rate, which is 250 bitcoins plus just 1 satoshi. And this rounds down to 1 share, so only 1 share is burned. And remember, we had 2 shares, so we still have 1 more. And in the end of the call, the protocol checks the invariant that the amount shares we left multiplied by the exchange rate is enough to cover the debt. And this is fulfilled because the old, excessively inflated exchange rate is used. The problem is the protocol thought that when we redeem underlying assets, the exchange rate won't change, but it isn't true. So the hacker redeems almost all of his collateral without repaying the debt. Now, ETH pool is empty, and WBTC pool has dust in it, so we can just liquidate ourselves, make WBTC pool empty again, and repeat the attack on other pools in the protocol. And that attack cost the protocol more than $6 million, well, in different assets. And that is it. Now, another protocol I want to talk about is CurveUSD. Have anyone heard about CurveUSD and what it is? Oh, nice, actually, many people. Well, in that protocol, I found an interesting vulnerability during the audit. And for those who don't know what is CurveUSD, CurveUSD is an over-collateralized stablecoin protocol where you deposit assets and borrow stablecoins, CurveUSDs. And your collateral is distributed across price ranges, also called ticks or bands. And each band is actually a mini vault, a separate mini vault where you receive shares for your collateral. And if the price of your collateral drops, the current tick in the protocol gets closer to your price range, and you may be completely bought out. Now, even if your price range is bought out, you still have shares in that band, so you can burn your shares and receive what's left in your band, be it your original collateral or CurveUSDs, which was used to buy your collateral. So, since there are more than 1,000 ticks in the protocol, and each a mini vault, can we proceed with inflation attack on empty ticks? Well, sure, but there are difficulties. First, we cannot deposit less than about 100 ways of assets in a band. Another problem is that we cannot mint 0 shares. And the third problem is that the exchange rate of any band does not depend on balance of method of the collateral. So we cannot influence it by direct transfers. But what we can do, we can trade. What do we do? We create a loan and deposit collateral into empty ticks. And after that, we buy all the liquidity in the protocol and by shifting the current tick to the right, and then sell it back by shifting current tick to the left. And the amount of trading volume is donated to all shareholders of all ticks. Now, if we burn almost all of our shares, we'll be left with 2-way assets and 1 share in a band, thus making the exchange rate equal to 2. This is a start. Now, the question is, how do we inflate it further? Well, we could try continue trading, but it has 2 main problems. First, it will increase the exchange rate too slowly, and the other problem is that we lose a lot of money on trading on ticks we do not fully own. So what do? We can hit ourselves with the inflation attack. So the hacker carry out the inflation attack on themselves. What do? Is we just deposit collateral into our ticks and then burn some of our shares. it will cause a rounding error, which will increase the exchange rate, well, initially slowly, but gradually by 50% per iteration. And overall, after 120 iterations of deposits and withdrawals, we can inflate the exchange rate in a band from just 2 ways of ETH to as much as 100 ETH. Now, if a victim tries to deposit collateral into our price ranges, and if it brings less than 100 ETH, the protocol will revert. But the more interesting case arises if the victim brings more than 100 ETH in our ticks. For example, consider a scenario where victim deposits 199 ETH in a band. Well, the current exchange rate is 100, so 199 divided by 100 rounds down to 1. So the victim receives 1 share in our band, and we also have 1 share in this band. So the victim and the hacker both own 50% of the band, but the hacker spent about 100 ETH for the attack, and the victim deposited to almost 200. So the hacker profits with about 50 ETH, and overall the hacker can steal up to 25% of any victim's deposit. And the best way to fix it is to use OpenZeppelin's approach of virtual shares. The main idea is on the screen. You simply add some amount of virtual shares to the real amount of shares in your calculations, and some amount of virtual assets to the real amount of assets, well, in your protocol. And if you have, if you want to start, if you want to implement a vault, well, you can actually use OpenZeppelin's ERC 4626 implementation, but take note that by default, OpenZeppelin's implementation uses only 1 virtual share, and this amount of shares is prone to griefing. Basically, a hacker can burn, for example, 1 ETH of his own funds, but some victims will not be able to withdraw about the same amount of funds from the protocol. So I guess the most practical way is to use at least 1,000. That was implemented as a fix in CurveUSD, and actually the same amount of dead shares is used in Uniswap v2 protocol. So if you want to check any additional details, check out our blog. And thanks. We still have 2 minutes left, so if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Well, then good luck, and see you off stage.